Now I know I'm not the only one seeing this. Current animes have the longest titles ever, and whether that's good or bad is something I'll be exploring. With that in mind, let's get into it. When it comes to a show's title, there's a lot you could say. Death Note and Solo Leveling are good examples of titles that get straight to the point. Now, there's a few ways you could do this. A very common practice is by having the main character as the title of the show, kind of like Violet Evergarden, Nana, and Kaiba. Even instances like Kaguya-sama Love is War tells you the name of the main character as well as generally what the show's about without necessarily explaining the show itself. And that's key. Number 1. Obscurity. When you have long titles, people tend to either shorten them or choose not to say it at all, in which the latter would be terrible for a show's lifespan. Imagine if you created a show with great content, but the title was so hard to say that people lost interest in it simply by lack of word of mouth. If it's too tough to remember, it's probably too tough to tell your friends. Number 2. It can't be shortened. Unlike a show such as Watamote, others can't go by one word alone. Normally, that's only possible if after the first word or two there's a colon, kind of like in Mushoku Tensei, Tonikawa, and Iroduku. The inability to shorten long titles will again make it hard to remember. An example is my mental choices are completely interfering with my school romantic comedy. The name doesn't give much opportunity to come up with a clever condensed version. You could try My Mental Choices, but no one would know what you're referring to. You could also try My School Romantic Comedy, but others may confuse it with My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. It's issues like these that make recalling a series that much harder. Number 3. Spoilers. When you tell too much about a show from the title alone, it can point blank be enough to spoil the series for some people, or at the very least the first episode. Now, anyone can read a manga, but for those completely unaware of the show's existence until its release, explaining half the premise in the title could easily detract audiences. Some of the best series actually want you to find out why it's named what it is. Gurren Lagann, 86, and Fruits Basket are all great examples. They all have a meaning you'd have to watch multiple episodes to understand. Here's a good rule of thumb. If a show's name is a full question or a statement, it's most likely too long. The most popular example is probably the misfit of Demon King Academy. History's strongest Demon King reincarnates and goes to school with his descendants. While that is a mouthful, titles like that may be fortunate enough to garner shock value over its length, but that's normally in rare cases. Number 4. Reliance on titles. Realistically, if you made a show's title extremely long in a way where they had to read all of it, it could almost count as branding. It's like you're dangling cheese in front of a mouse, hoping it takes the bait, but why would you do that? An honest answer could be a lack of confidence in the show itself, grabbing people's attention without having a self-explanatory title. On a slight tangent, promoting a show through its name inevitably minimizes the need for a synopsis. If people know what happens without reading it, there's almost no reason for a brief explanation to be made. While yes, it will have more information, it's quite literally competing with the title of the show, which it shouldn't. Number 5. Trends go against it. Another piece to the puzzle actually relies on trends, if you can believe it or not. Nowadays, everyone seems to like shortening titles. Abbreviations are here to stay, but just how extreme do they get? Shows as short as 2 or 3 words still get abbreviated. From One Piece to OP, Jujutsu Kaisen to JJK, and Chainsaw Man to CSM, convenience seems to not only be easier, but popular among the younger audiences. Overall, titles are meant to be explored in one way or another, but an increase in length may not be the best decision. As always, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.